Ooh, welcome back to Blue Rush, our New York Giants podcast from the New York Post. This episode of Blue Rush is presented by Tri-State Cadillac Dealers. Visit your Cadillac showroom today. Go get yourself a Cadillac. I'm the podfather, Jake Brown. No Paul Schwartz this week, but on our post-game show today, following a rough 27-13 Giants loss in Seattle, is, of course, BL, Brandon London, and two-time Super Bowl champion Lawrence Tynes. Tynesy, BL, the Giants haven't lost a game in over a month. We almost forgot what losing feels like, but it was an ugly offensive performance, and it was an offensive special teams performance. And Richie James might be jobless on Monday morning, Tynesy.
Yeah, that was tough to watch. Listen, they just get lost to a better team today. Let's call it what it is. Geno Smith played exceptionally well. I know he didn't have crazy good numbers, but I mean, he put the ball in a lot of hands early, and I mean in tight. And Adoree Jackson obviously gave up a touchdown later on, but played outstanding football. But at the end of the day, just too much offensive firepower. I mean, they have too many weapons. They ended up making more plays than we did. You factor in the turnovers. We didn't get a lot out of anything, honestly, in the passing game or the run game. So you got to tip your cap to Seattle. It's a tough road trip. It's tough to go all the way across the country and beat them, especially when they're good. And they were the better team today. So, but 6-2, you leave there going into the bye week, not a bad thing.
And when you say tip your cap to them, it's almost like you want to say thank you to them, Tynes, because what does winning do? Winning masks things, and winning. Yeah. You don't really have to address certain things. It's like, yeah, we've talked about what the Giants have needed in terms of weapons, but we've done that through podcasts and Twitter. And now we actually saw a game where that has kind of come back to haunt them, and it bit them in the butt. Obviously the two special teams errors. This team isn't built to turn the football over, which is why they've been so good recently, because Daniel Jones hasn't turned the football over. But when you get two on special teams like that, that hurts this team. And another thing you said with Geno and the weapons, exactly. He had a Tyler Lockett and a DK Metcalf to throw to. And again, this loss just showed us that the Giants need more weapons, whether it's grab some now before Tuesday's trade deadline, ride it out. But you see that this team is right on the brink of going from good to really good. And I think they're about 2 to 3 offensive weapons away.
Yeah, you got to make a deal, Todd. You guys, like Tuesday's deadline, the names, we discussed a little bit before the show. Brandon Cooks, a little too expensive next year. He's got his cap hits over $20 million. The two names you look at, if they can find a way to get him, are Chase Claypool and Jerry Jeudy. Claypool, $2 million next year. Jerry Jeudy, $4 million. But you can't, in a 6-2 team fighting for a playoff spot. Tanner Hudson played his ass off, but he's Tanner Hudson. I mean, Danny Tanner Hudson. And then we're talking about Marcus Johnson, Davis Sills, Lawrence Cager. I mean, Chris Myarick. I mean, we're talking Matt Breida. It's Darius Slay and Wan'Dale Robinson. The other guys should not be receiving footballs for a playoff team. I know they're playing their ass off, but those aren't the guys you need out there. So, Tynes, you have to make a deal before Tuesday, I think, if you want to be seriously a playoff team.
Yeah, I mean, that all plays well in our shows and social media, but the reality of this football team is they don't have any cap room. They don't have any money. You don't want to get a rent-a player. That's not what this team is building. They're 6-2 without any help from the outside. And you can't just go make a deal just to make a deal, right? Just to appease fan bases and things like that. Because quite frankly, I think we can get to the playoffs without a deal. And I know, and I'll just say this, we're not a wide receiver away from winning the Super Bowl. So the Giants have to be conscious of, mortgaging their future for short-term gain. They're still a good enough team. The schedule lays out nicely. They can get into the playoffs, make some noise. Maybe Galladay comes back, guys. You keep forgetting. I know he hasn't done anything in a year and a half, but I think, kind of watching his interview this past week, he looks excited to be on a winning football team. He will, maybe help them. It can't be any worse, right? I mean, I know he's making a ton of money, but I just don't think they're, I think it's cool for us to all talk about. I put it out there with Jeudy last week, but I don't think they're a receiver away. I know it'll help them, but I think they can win 10, 11 games without going out and getting somebody.
It's just, I think they can. again, if they continue the football that they've been playing, don't turn the ball over, stay within one possession going into the fourth quarter. This team is a fourth quarter team. They're not built for blowouts. But if we're going to go rental, I have enough confidence in a Joe Schoen that he can be creative with that rental. He can bring in someone more of a skill set rather than a name. So when we're saying the Claypools, the Brandon Cooks, we may not have, since this is Cadillac, we don't have Escalade money right now. The Giants might have to get one of those nice STS Cadillac STSs to style in. You know what I'm saying? So again, it doesn't have to be a big name, a Claypool, because a Claypool, Judy, they come with their flaws. We know Jerry Judy hasn't dropped the ball as much this year, but we know he comes with drop. When it comes to Claypool, some of the things that he had, some of the drops and things that he had throughout his early career. Baller can play, but like you said, why go out and grab one of those guys and spend that much money or spend that much draft capital? I think we have a regime now. The Giants have a new regime to where I can see them going out and getting someone that makes sense for this type of team. And if they do that, whether it be another speed guy to put some more speed on the field at receiver, or be just a possessional guy that could stay healthy and be out there and catch those third down, get 6 catches, 60, 70 yards just off of target throws, then I think that helps this team out tremendously. Does it win them a Super Bowl? Absolutely not. But at least I feel as though they make the playoffs. We can for sure say they make the playoffs and they could possibly win that first wild card playoff game, because I don't know if they win this division with the way Philly is right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is a wild card team for sure at this point. But I'm with Brandon on this one, Tynes, and I see what you're saying. They can get there, but why keep trotting out guys who would normally not be here? And I don't think Kenny Golladay should be relied on in any aspect. Let's talk about Kadarius Toney. The news kind of happened. I know, Lawrence, you reacted quickly. We recorded a little bit, but you guys already put Thursday's show out, and then of course news happened. This happens to me and Andrew Hartz every week, where the news happens 10 minutes after we post a podcast. Death, taxes, and untimely news. A third and a sixth. I think you got to give credit here to Joe Schoen for getting that for a guy who had 2 catches this year, has barely been on the field, had 420 yards, perfectly fitting for him last season. Young Joka is in Kansas City.
Yeah, I could have went and picked him up at the airport if you wanted me to. Hit my direct messages. It's just kind of been a weird, turbulent 18 months with him. There was so much wow when he was playing against the Cowboys and then New Orleans, and there was so much what if with him, right? And it was just like we never saw it. We never got to see the full potential of Kadarius Toney. And, he just obviously didn't fit in from the time this new regime came in, right? He missed some OTAs. Then he comes back. Then he had a knee scope. Then he kind of came back, training camp, hurts his hamstring, doesn't really fit into what they were doing. So you move on from him. No hard feelings. You hope, Kansas City will get the most out of him. They got tons of playmakers. The rich got richer. It's a good move for both teams. I really do think it's a good move, obviously, for the Chiefs. And I think the compensation we got was fair. A third and a sixth for a guy who, he has more songs than he does catches in his career. So.
Might be true.
And I'm glad you put it. I'm glad he
does.
Put it like that.
53 to 41.
You download songs.
How many songs? 53 songs, 41 catches.
What's his greatest hits collection? What's his greatest?
I don't even know, but I know he has 53 songs and 41 catches.
That's great research
tough.
right there.
That's
a crack research stuff.
That's unfortunate for him that he didn't take off here, because just think of what that could have done for his rap career. But again, like you said, it's perfect for both involved. The Chiefs they don't need him to be a number one. They've got Kelsey. They've got Juju. They've got Valdez Scantling. They need him. They need the Joker-ism in him. They need the gadget in him gadgetism in him, because that's Andy Reid type offense. So if he can stay healthy, and again, I know it's a big if he can stay healthy, he can go on and have himself a pretty solid career in that offense. As for that third and that sixth, now the Giants are sitting with 2 third-round picks. I think they use that as some sort of capital to kind of see where they were, after this game coming out of Seattle, I think they sit and they have a meeting tomorrow and they're like, all right, let's really look at the tape and see, all right, let's talk to Daniel. Do we need to go out there and get you someone? Again, it can't be an Escalade. We can get you a nice STS, put some 24s on it, and we keep them things clean. They 20s, but we keep them clean, though. But again, let me bring someone in there. And now they just added some sort of draft capital to help them bring somebody in.
Hey, you know who this is random. You know who Kansas City's most famous rapper is? You know who it is?
Coolio.
Maybe Young Joker can do a collab with Tech Nine, baby. Tech Nine.
Yes, he's from Kansas City.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I've seen him. He's cool. He's good people, but maybe him and Young Joker will get a little something going. I got completely off task, but
yeah, you did. I forgot what we were talking about there.
I was thinking about the STX with the 24s, the STX with the 24s. And I love how Brandon's kind of saying, okay, this is what we need, an STX, not an Escalade. Here's the question, guys. Who?
Judy or Claypool?
Judy's not available. That's been made public today, I think, even after the game he had. They're kind of in, what are they, 2, 3, 3 and 5, something like that. So they're not sellers yet. But that's why I'm saying I just don't know, like, who. That's the $1 million question here.
Maybe Elijah Moore, with him complaining again for the Jets after not getting any catches.
We don't need another 5'10" wide receiver. I'm sorry.
No.
Hamler for the Broncos.
Hamler? How big is he? Big guy?
Little guy. 5'10", speed guy.
No.
Again, he's a little guy. I would say Kendrick Bourne. Kendrick Bourne's out there, a bigger guy. Because like we said, there is a Kenny Golladay waiting to get healthy again, and he's going to have to get another shot. But at the end of the day, are you going to sit there and are you going to bet on him coming back and being productive? I can't. If I'm Joe Shane and them and I'm in that office, they've seen what they've needed to see from a Kenny Golladay, and they understand they're stuck with that contract. We're stuck with this player. So I see like Kendrick Bourne or
where's Kendrick Bourne at? What team is he at?
He's with the Patriots right now.
Yeah. They won again. So they're back to 500.
Yeah. So it's going to be.
Here's something completely. I don't know if you're jumping into topics, Jake, but I wanted to touch on this. I think Saquon Barkley is more hurt than we think he is. Anyone else agree with that shoulder?
You think so?
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's more, this 2 weeks is going to do obviously him a lot of good. I don't know. I noticed a little change. The whole team looked slow today, right? You agree? They kind of looked off. Long trip, wet field. But he, in particular, has been playing through some. I think that shoulder's worse than we probably know.
Yeah, you might be right. And Saquon's going to play. All the talk he's had. He's going to play through any injury because he does the season he's having. He's going to play through whatever it takes. He's not going to sit out. So you might have a point there.
Now he had some really nice runs
today.
Yeah. They just had to start throwing the football. But Daniel Jones, I thought, was not good. Let's just call it what it is. Like, he missed that throw to the tight end early. Who the hell was that, by the way? Cager. Where the hell did he come from? I was in my notebook. I was like, who is this dude? Is that the dude we picked up from the Jets? Was he with the Jets?
Who?
We should know this. We have a Giants spot. Cager, the tight end.
Yes,
83.
former Jet. Yes.
Okay. And so when he missed that throw, it was just he was off the whole day. Credit Seattle. They did a nice job on defense, but it wasn't a good day. We were due for a day like this, and it just wasn't a good day. They weren't good enough today. The 2 fumbles were killer.
Oh, yeah.
God, they were killer. We get the touchdown, right? We get our own turnover. Adoree makes an incredible play. Strips Tyler. 2-3 plays later win. We kick off. We go 3 plays and out. Xavier has an incredible blitz sack. We're getting the ball back. The momentum is completely shifted. And that fumble, in addition to the one in the second half, were 10 points, right? We go into halftime down 10-7 versus being up 10-7 or 14-7. And then the one in the second half was a backbreaker. I mean, just a backbreaker. And you feel bad for him, but man, you got to secure the football. If that's your job, the most important thing is the ball. So He's had a lot of fumbles too. I looked it up.
I just remember being in in special teams meetings, and when you're talking about that return, man, like you said, first and foremost is get us the ball. Give the ball to the offense. That's your job. And just watching the way that he was kind of holding the ball, these weren't big hits. It wasn't like anyone came, grabbed, stripped, that had on the ball. These weren't that big of hits. And it just goes to show, like you say, did they look a little bit slower? They looked a little bit off, like you said. Yeah, they looked off.
Yeah.
And it goes
maybe
to
tired.
show,
yeah.
You can't have those type of turnovers as well. And then it goes to show, like you have to have an extra lightning in the bottle, because if you're lightning in the bottle, a Saquon Barkley only runs for, what was his numbers? 20 for 53 with the touchdown.
Yeah.
That's your lightning in the bottle. That's where you need to accumulate other weapons, and whether it be another receiver or another tight end or whomever it can be. We don't need to go back into that. But if Daniel Jones is going to have that off day, because there are at times where he was still accurate with the football. He was still throwing it to Tanner Hudson to lead him to where he can catch and run. That's why he did a good job getting some yak. And we didn't see many receivers get yak today. So that's what I'm saying. If they're going to get creative and bring a guy in, it has to be a possession guy that can go up and catch anything and everything, or it's just going to have to be a mid-size 6 to 6'1" rack guy who can catch, break a tackle, and get an extra 15.
We need that Chevy Equinox. We're in the mid-size. We're in the mid-size.
We don't support Chevy here,
man.
Cadillac only.
I am all for staying the course. That's just me. Like, I don't think we need to. There's nobody. If Judy's available, yes, but I don't think he is.
But Lawrence, you're one injury away from Brandon playing receiver. Like, they're getting more and more injuries.
But Galladay's coming back.
You never heard of.
For some reason, I'm weirdly optimistic about Galladay. I don't know why. I just am. Because Slayton had a nice game. We got to give him his flowers today. He did have a nice game. What did he end up with? 5 for 66. If you can get that every Sunday out of Slayton,
someone's got to get stats. Big. I mean, no one else is doing anything. He's been the number one
and
guy.
Tanner Hudson, I'll give him credit, but damn, nobody even covered him all day. So hey, just catch the ball, go run. Like, he was uncovered like 3 or 4 of those catches. I was like, he was chipping and then he was kind of leaking out into the flat. Bellinger, right? That's up in the air with the eye surgery. So they're kind of in a conundrum. I do think the defense played well enough to win. They did. They got off the field early. They competed, and then those turnovers were massive.
What about getting a tight end? We talk about receiver, but if Bellinger is going to miss a big part of the season, do you go out and get a tight end now?
Yeah. No, I've thought about that. I just haven't had time to kind of look around the league and think, okay, who's available? They did say Hawkinson may potentially be available in Detroit.
I'd break the bank for that.
He's due a big number next year because it's his 5th-year option was picked up by Detroit. But he's a good player. I don't know what his number looks like this year. Of course, we play the Lions coming up here after the bye. So, but I think he's a guy they'll move, right? They're sitting at 1-7 right now, 1-6. Bad football team.
Yeah, I mean, earlier in the year, people were talking about Mike Gesicki with the Dolphins could be available. Not, he ain't available. After his 4th red zone touchdown, what the Dolphins have built and what they got going on. Like, when you talk about tight ends, again, I think we got enough hybrid tight ends in terms of guys that can catch. The guys they can catch, they can block. But again, you need someone special. There has to be another special player on that offense outside of Saquon.
But special players are very rarely made available via trade.
Yep.
I don't know. They're in a bad spot in terms of acquiring a player. One other thing, I'm kind of jumping around. Man, that horrible personal foul on the punt return early in the game. Remember that? Where the gunner was just blocking? He just blocked. And then he said he's a personal foul. We had a 40-yard return.
Illegal blindside block.
That was bad. He never even left like the 2-yard radius. They were just hand fighting, right? And then that was another, we could go all day on that, but that was a bad call. God almighty. And Richie had a nice return. We talk about his fumbles. I'm going to talk about his great return. But then it just all went south. Oof.
I mean, it's a 10-point swing. This is a 7-point game. He fumbles that. You think you're in this game. Me and Hartz were talking about, this is Giants are getting this ball. They're going to score, and then big balls, day balls, Dayballs is going to go for 2 and they're going to win 21-20. Unfortunately, they never got that chance.
No. How big would the field goal have been or touchdown before the half, right? Before the first half, and then they were getting the ball back coming out of halftime. I mean, you could have potentially put up, 10 to 14 points, but it's the one game, they haven't turned the ball over. So they did this week, and that it is what it is. I'm just glad I'm not Richie James on that 6-hour flight home.
Yeah, is that the kind of day that gets you cut? Do you think he gets cut?
No,
No.
because I don't think
Because they don't have enough bodies.
Partly, but I don't think Joe Shane and Dave will want to set a precedent in that locker room that if you have a bad game, you're cut. I don't think that's who they are. Like Richie James, listen, let's be real. The first 3 or 4 weeks, he was the number 1 receiver on this football team. And he'll come back from this. He's a competitor. I just don't think he's going to return punts anymore. You can't put him back there. He's a liability. It's in his head now. It's in his head. But Richie James, for all intents and purposes, is a good teammate. People like him. And he'll figure it out. They'll find a role for him. His role has decreased on offense, so I don't know. I mean, I don't think he's going to get cut because of this. I really don't, but who knows?
I don't understand why his role was diminished on offense. It wasn't like we were seeing him do anything wrong. It wasn't like he was dropping a bunch of balls out there or anything. It's just he wasn't. At first, those first 3 games, he was getting targeted a lot. Then you kind of see some of those targets go down a little bit. But it's the tight ends. The tight ends have been taking away targets from the wide receivers. Yeah. If you're looking at it, Daniel Jones loves throwing to these tight ends. And you were talking about that. We were talking about that throw he missed to Cager early.
Man,
these guys are scheming. The way they are scheming up some of these plays, putting him in there, and it was a wheel route, but it was a delayed wheel route to where that backer didn't buzz out and that curl the flat. His eyes were just you're not thinking that Cager's running a wheel route right there. So again, when you're drawing these plays up and you're running them throughout the course of the week, that's one of those plays where you're like, we are counting on ourselves to hit this. Here is our chunk play. And again, when it comes to Kafka and Dable and they're putting together these game plans, they're sitting there thinking, boy, it'd be nice if I just had a guy where I could be like, you know what, maybe this works, maybe it doesn't, but this kid's going to catch this and take it for 50.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just, listen, they were due, right? I mean, 7-1, I would have been almost more worried if they would have went out there and won. I'd have been like, oh boy,
what's going on?
7-1. And then I don't know that they can make a move. I don't know. If I had to bet tonight, I would say no. I say they don't. I don't think they have enough cap room or draft capital to be giving it away.
6-2 going into the bye. State of the Giants right now. Lawrence, go first. You got to be still pumped up. Like, this is deflating loss, but you get a whole week off, you rest, you get those guys healthy. You still got to be ecstatic if you're showing up November 13th for Giants Texans at MetLife Stadium.
Yeah, the most important thing over the next 2 weeks is, letting Saquon rest that shoulder. I think it's bothering him more than we probably know. I know it's hurt, but I don't know that it'll heal it in 2 weeks because then he's got to go back and start playing again. But 2 weeks off is going to do the body good for a lot of those guys. Nick Gates was out there today. Let's make sure we make a note of that. How cool was that? Showed a nice picture of his family. What a great story. They got him comfortable. They got him in the game. The Giants are 6-2. It's a really good, it's a good football team. Let's just call it. They're a good football team. Of course, you're in a division with 2 juggernauts, the Cowboys and the Eagles. So they got to find something, some way to go down the stretch. They got to go 5-3, 4-4, probably down the stretch to get into the playoffs. And they come out against Houston and Detroit. So 2 games they're going to be favored to win right out of the gate. So lots to like about this team. They've done a really good job. Everyone seems to be on board with this coaching staff. So I'm pretty pleased, man. No one, even myself, but no way in hell did I see this coming 6-2 after 8 games. So if you're a Giants fan and you talk about them, I think this is pretty damn fun. I've had a lot of fun so far.
And it's been fun watching the defense. I understand they gave up 27 points today, but I mean, there are times you're watching that game. And I was with Ahmad Bradshaw when we were watching the game at this place, Blackjack Mulligan's. And Wink Martindale is going to have some sort of statue built in East Rutherford for him, because the way Tamon Fox led the team today in tackles, y'all.
Man, did you see him pressuring the quarterback though? I don't know.
Look at what he's getting out of these guys.
Yeah, he was right there with Kayvon a lot tonight. I don't know what was he. He looks like a linebacker. What is he? He's not big.
He's like that hybrid Azeez Ojulari type, that edge
like that
rusher,
Elvis Dumerville, like that kind of lower.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Shout out to Troy.
But man, he was in the backfield a lot.
Yeah.
So that's another guy to look forward to in the second half when Azeez comes back, and then you've got O'Shane was out today too. I mean, they did all that without two of their best guys playing. So if I'm gonna knock people, I thought Crowder had a terrible game. I thought he missed some tackles. I did like the switch. They moved Jalen to the middle, put Crowder on the outside. But overall, they did enough to win on defense, right? When you get late in the game, they're selling out, trying to make a play. But they did enough early on within the first three quarters to help this team win. You can't overcome the turnovers.
BL, your state. I want your state of the union of the G-men at 6-2 going to the bye.
6-2, the G-men, they're right where they need to be at this point. Obviously we want to talk about adding weapons and all in that sense, but sometimes I think David Tyree said it the other day when he was saying, you can have, they don't have good players, they just have a good team in that sense. And I think that team aspect, you see today was the only day we didn't see a high level of complimentary football from them, obviously turning the ball over twice on special teams. But you still saw today, like even when Richie James, after that sack, Richie James has that fumble, they show the defense, they just put their helmets on. No one cursed. No one was mad or upset. They put the helmets on and they went out there to try and make a stop. And that's just going to show that this defense, they understand that they can stop a team at any time. So at 6-2, state of the address, state of the union of the Giants football team, they are right where they need to be. They're still have over exceeded expectations. And I think you get healthy, you hopefully get some key guys back. And then after that, you make a run. You make that run.
Yeah, I think the State of the Union is that this is great. 6-2. Now you get the Texans, who have been just a disaster so far this season at 1-5-1. And then you get the Lions, who were everyone's, mush, their story of the preseason with Hard Knocks. They were fun. They are getting close in games, but they aren't finishing games. They're 1-6.
Hey, they can score though. They can put some points on the board.
That's no gimme. That's no gimme going into the Thanksgiving
game. They had
game.
Miami on the ropes today.
Yeah.
They had Miami on the ropes, but we're going to have to start being able to score points, I mean, we can't none of these 17-20. I mean, you got to be able to go score here, but those two games scare me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For some reason.
They look too easy to win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both of those, and they're both at home, right?
Yep.
Yeah. We'll get to it. I don't have to worry about it this week, thank God. But those two games scare me.
And listen, they've both been close. Like the Texans, a tie, lose by 7, lose by 3, lose by 10, lose by 7 today. So they've been close, and the Lions have been close all season, competing in games. They've been like you said, they've been scoring. Lost by 4 today. They lost by 3 to the Seahawks. Lost by 4 to the Vikings. Lost by 3 to the Eagles. So a lot of one possession losses by both those teams. So we want to pencil them in as wins, but obviously you got to earn every victory in the NFL. But hey, you go into Thanksgiving 8-2, you're really feeling good about the state of the Giants.
Who was after that?
Cowboys Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And then who's after the Cowboys? The Commanders, right? It's the Commanders right after the Cowboys. Yeah.
Yes.
So
it gets real.
That's when the schedule gets real.
From Thanksgiving on, it is bring your big boy gloves. Right, it's twice against Washington. It's twice against the Eagles.
The Commanders aren't that good, but I mean they're 4-4, so I guess they're decent.
They're playing much better with Taylor Heineke, and that defense is legit. It's the NFC East, though. I mean, but I'm saying, compared to Houston and Detroit, it just gets real, right? It's divisional games, it's common opponents. Those games are always tougher anyway. But think about this: everyone in the NFC East is 500 or better. 4-4 in the NFL is not just some layup, right? I mean, that's That's a
especially
solid
this year.
team.
A lot of mediocrity and below me. Look at the NFC South. The Bucks in second place at 3-5. The Falcons with Marcus Mariota are in first place at 4-4.
Yeah. So, 4-4 Washington Commanders team can beat anyone in our division. They can.
So that's why you're telling everyone, hey, if whatever you got going on, if you're tweaked or whatever, you got an injury, get right. But you got till Thanksgiving to get right.
Yeah. And that might be a good time for Bellinger, right? If we're counting weeks, maybe.
Hopefully Ojulari comes back off of IR. You got some hopefuls in there.
Well, he was 4 weeks, right? So this is the second game. Bellinger will never play football again without a shield or a visor on. We know that.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's just crazy how that all happened. But yeah, I think Azeez comes back. This was the second or third game on that he was on that 4-week IR, right?
4-week IR. Yep. Does the bye week count for that? Does that count as a week or a game?
Yeah.
I think so. Yep. So,
actually, that's a great question.
You're going to be getting some guy, Kenny Galladay, like you said. Yeah, if this is your last hurrah, this could be your last hurrah. So get right.
What a story it would be if Kenny Galladay after the bye comes back and becomes that number one, 42 million with 72 million, however much you got, receiver again when the Giants need it most.
Yeah.
You want to talk about maybe not making a trade, and that could be the trade. Guys come back from injury. Everyone's like, that's your trade. The Mets get Jacob deGrom back. That's your trade deadline acquisition. Kenny Galladay, who could be a trade deadline acquisition if he actually shows up after the bye. You're sitting pretty right now. And Giants fans got to pack that place. I was at the Jets today, and that place was packed. Unfortunately, the result for them wasn't very good. But despite it being the Texans and maybe not a desirable opponent that you want to see, that play's got to be rocking, because 7-2 would be a monster statement in a below-average NFC this year, and put yourself in really good position for one of those wild card spots. This is the post-game Blue Rush podcast. Jake Brown, Lawrence Tynes, Brandon London. Guys, bye week. What are you doing? Are you taking any vacations? Where are you going?
Real quick. Andrew just let us know on the side here that bye week does not count as a game. Okay. So Azeez will have to miss at least 2 more.
That's annoying.
For the bye week, I don't have anything fun planned. I mean, just golf, work. That's it.
When you played, what was the bye week like? Take us through the schedule of the team. Like the Giants resting till Thursday. What's their plan here? They rest all week.
They'll come in tomorrow. I mean, they're in the air right now. They're still not even back, but they'll have to come in tomorrow at some time, probably after lunchtime, right? And then go over the film. And depending on what Daves wants to do, man, he might have them come in, Tuesday, Wednesday, and let them go Thursday, Friday.
Yep. Yeah.
You might get like a prep. You're going to get, who are they playing? Houston. So they'll get an intro into Houston on Tuesday or Wednesday, Thursday, because Tuesday's their day off. And then I think he'll let them hit the road on Friday, because guys like to go back to their colleges, right? The young guys that, just came out. And then you just relax. It feels like it feels like a long time. It really does. It's crazy how 4 days off of football can feel like and it's good. And those guys will be eager to come back, right? Because they're coming back to a 6-2 football team. So I think the bye came at a perfect time for them too. Some rest, some bumps and bruises, some self-scouting. Me and Brandon talked about this on the preview show. The self-scouting is massive this week. What are we doing? Are we tipping our plays? What are we doing that maybe teams are picking up on? Things like that. So they'll make some corrections. They'll probably add some new wrinkles to their offense and things like that over the bye week. So, I remember them. They're a lot of fun. But
the thing with this team, I don't see guys going to Cancun for a couple of days, or guys going out. I see guys. I think there are going to be a lot of bodies still in Quest Diagnostics Training Center. You're probably going to see some guys at Knicks games, Rangers games, that sort of thing, staying together as a squad, because you understand, like, again, at 6-2, you understand what's at stake. And a lot of these guys who, especially if you've been around here for the last couple of years, you haven't won much. So this is all new. You want to get back to that winning feeling as quick as possible, after losing to the Seahawks. But you really understand, I think they really see what type of football team they are. There's still teams out there at 4-4 that's still trying to find their identity. You still hear that all the time, like still trying to find their identity. I think this team knows who and what they are and how to win games. So I see them putting in a lot of extra work. And like we said, self-analyzation, self-scouting, putting work and time into your body, that sort of things. And I see them handling this like true professionals.
Brandon's ability to mention Quest Diagnostics Training Center in every post-game episode
Quest.
is truly
Is
uncanny. You
Man,
would
they
think
must be
they're
paying him on
sponsoring.
the side.
Yeah, I
Quest
think
has
they're
got-
writing him a check on the
Man.
side every
Hey,
week. It's unbelievable.
Think about this. I was just thinking about like young players on our football team, like Kayvon Thibodeau.
Yeah.
Man, could you imagine? Like, I bet you he doesn't even want to go home because he just made a 6-hour flight. Does he really want to fly back to like LA or Oregon to go to his college? That would suck if you're from the West Coast.
And
after coming off a Seattle trip.
And you look at it, he didn't register a tackle, sack. He didn't register anything.
Man, he was all over the field.
He was all over. Yeah, I'm not saying he didn't do anything, but I see him I see him. He understands the game, within the game. So I see him. Yeah, you might see him at another Knicks game or something. But I also feel as though, like, when they come back and they let the press in on that following Wednesday or Thursday, I guarantee when Dable or something talks and someone's going to ask, were there any guys around the building and all? I guarantee you Dable says Kayvon Thibodeau was one of the guys who was around that building. Quest Diagnostics Training Center.
There it is.
They got to be cutting.
Do we have a dollar?
My
Do we have a dollar counter?
Are they your health insurance provider? I don't know what they do, but
if that's the case, I'm gonna keep saying Cadillac then, because your boy needs a new caddy.
Yeah, STX. We got to get him with the starter set though.
Yeah, let's give him the base model until we got to give a week without Quest Diagnostics. I don't even know what that is.
That's funny.
But now we know that they're cutting a check on the side. Well, this episode is presented by your Tri-State Cadillac dealers, not your Quest Diagnostic dealers. And we will enter the bye week. So we will be back next Thursday, the Blue Rush preview with Paul Schwartz, with hopefully a working internet for next Thursday's podcast preview show.